Pac is on his way to win it, overtaking Afi. Is Pac gonna win it by KO? This is gonna be the knockout win for Pac, the M&M player.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the weekly show, the first one of the season. And yeah, we're here for another season of the weekly show. Let's talk about Trackmania, right?
Hey, let's do it. Listen, I realized that I didn't actually give you the pronunciation of my name before stream, and that's on me. I'm Nualek. Hey, Sinas, it's nice to be here with you, and this is my fault. This is the problem I always have. You pick an Irish name, and then you go to international events. It's on me.
How dare you? It's incredible, yeah. No, it's
yeah,
all good,
I'm looking forward to today. I'm looking forward to tonight. Look, we've got a great show lined up. You know, we're going to be kicking things off with a season preview. We're also going to have a quick look at the format because I know that's still catching a lot of people out. We're going to move to a nice week one review as well then, because we've already had a full week and there is lots to talk about there. And then we have 3 whole interviews seeing us. I mean, it's a treat for the people in Twitch chat tonight.
It is indeed, and I'm already excited for the interviews. I always love talking to the TMGL players and see what's going on in their heads during the matches. Of course, afterwards, we're going to preview week number 2 and talk a little bit about the Challenger and Open TMGL as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Trackmania to be played over the coming weeks, over the coming months, and a lot of very good players to do it. What exactly is the format that they're going to be doing it in? Let's roll that format video. Let's get a little bit of that confusion out of the air, because the new format is exciting, and I think we could all use a little bit of a refresher on how exactly it works.
Welcome to the competitive world of Trackmania. This video will tell you everything you need to know about the next season of the Trackmania Grand League. This season, you can support your favorite champions with a brand new format. The Trackmania Grand League brings together the 16 best players in the world. This season introduces Mime and Otak, 2 talented players you can count on. Players will duke it out in an online league during 6 events over 6 weeks. Each event will follow a variation of the Swiss system. Each match takes place with 4 players competing on a single track. First to 3 rounds wins. An event includes 5 tracks, and each track includes 4 matches of 4 players played simultaneously. Each match will have 2 winners and 2 losers. After the first 2 tracks, players will be seeded into Champion, Gold, Silver, and Bronze divisions. Let's try an example. For the second track, the players that won their first match will play against other winners, where the losers will face other losers, like in a normal Swiss system. For the third track, players who have 2 victories and no losses are placed in the Champion division. Players who won their first track and lost their second will go in the Gold division, and so on. For tracks 3, 4, and 5, the format changes and follows a rising-falling principle. The 2 winners of each track go up in division for the following track, while the 2 losers go down. At the end of track 5, each player wins a medal determined by their results and the division in which they finish. At the end of the season, players will be classified following the Olympic Games principle, meaning that a gold medal is worth more than multiple silver or bronze ones. The 8 best players qualify for the final phases of the competition, while players in 9th to 12th place will clash for a single spot in the final phase thanks to Final Chance. Players in 13th, 14th, and 15th place will face off against the best players of Trackmania Grand League Challenger to try and keep their spots. The player in 16th place is automatically replaced by the best player in the Challenger League. Voila! Now you know everything about the Trackmania Grand League's new format. And now, let the show begin.
And Sinas, I think really the key thing that we have to remember out of that is that round 3 is really still decided by round 1. If you don't win round 1, you're not going to be top 8 in round 3, no matter what happens. Because I know that's really what was catching a lot of people out here in step 1.
Yeah, indeed. You gotta win round 1, then you're top 8, and then the round 2 decides if you're in the top 4 or in the top 8 part of it.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, it was end of the season comes around. They were calling it Olympic style. I think what we decided to call it in the green room before we went live here is Mario Party style, right? You get those stars, and then afterwards it's decided by gold, and then afterwards decided by silver. But those champions medals, those stars, they're the most important thing to make sure that you're picking up early in the season.
They are indeed. So yeah, Bren and Massa very happy this season probably.
They absolutely will be. And I mean, an absolutely huge start to the season for both Bren and Massa. And I think Massa especially, coming in, obviously the same 5 maps were used for seeding as were used in step 1. And Massa kind of came 12th in the seeding. Massa didn't look so hot, so to come in, have such a strong performance in step 1 has to be a huge boost in confidence going into the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, it must have been for sure. And I think Bren playing insanely well as well. And we're going to talk to them too, which is very exciting. But I want to quickly glance at the calendar for the season and see what's going on there. Because it might be, a little bit, it will clear up some things, right? To see when is happening. Because we have the steps, week 1 till 6. We had week 1, the step already. And then we're going to go through the rest of the season. Then we have the final chance, which in the format was already mentioned, is player 9 to 12 have another chance to get into the playoffs. So then we have 9 people who go to the final. And then we had the TMGL promotion, or, well, demotion if you're on the other side of it.
It's true. It's like I said at the top, a lot of Trackmania to be played, and I think what's exciting about it as well is, whole new tracks, never seen before, whole new format, never seen before, and whole new players as well. Seeing Mime and Otak come in well. It's great to see new players come in and perform pretty quickly to the standard required to hang in TMGL.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna break Grenadi's rookie performance, but still, Mime, I think especially, has been doing insanely well already in week 1. Otak still has something to prove, but hey, we have only played 1 match, and I'm sure he's gonna do well as well. But yeah, Mime has been shining in week 1.
Absolutely, and we've kind of already mentioned the seeding results. The fact that Massa had a little bit of a weak seeding performance and then really stepped it up for week 1. But I mean, Mime especially, we've already just mentioned, did very, very well in week 1, a 5th place finish eventually, but did even better in the seeding, a 3rd place finish in the seeding, incredibly strong for the rookie.
Yeah, it's impressive to me every time that people come up from Challenger and they're like, oh yeah, I'll just beat these TMGL players too. Sounds easy enough, right? But no, it's not that easy, but they keep on doing it, so it's
It's true. It's true, and I think if there's one thing I've learned from step 1, it's that actually, honestly, even TMGL players who've been TMGL players for a long time struggle to beat TMGL players. There were a lot of back and forths during the week.
Yeah, it turns out TMGL players are pretty good at the game, yeah.
I mean, who could have seen this one coming? It's and I think Otak in particular is finding that out right now, Sinas, because struggled a little bit making the step up to the very top level at the moment. Did very well in Challenger, finding it a little bit tougher here in step 1.
For sure, but he's still beating some of the TMGL players.
That's true.
That's for sure. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Otak perform really well in something like step 2, step 3, or something else. I'm sure he's going to find that championship. I even wouldn't be surprised if he finds a championship medal somewhere in the season.
That's a big play. I think that's your hot take out of the way already for tonight, Sinas. You don't need to make any more hot takes on the microphone because Otak getting the championship medal,
really? I gotta throw out my notepad now. I have so many hot takes. What are you doing?
All right, we'll give you a few more. All right,
good,
we'll limit you to 5 because otherwise the Twitch chat, they just get overwhelmed. They don't know which one to call you out on if it doesn't happen.
So many clips to be farmed, so many tweets to be... Yeah, it's... Oh, man, yeah.
It's the way to go. But hey, I mean, look, you've mentioned that Otak did come in, found it maybe a little bit tough to adapt, but at the same time, one of the players that he did manage to beat out was Pac, our reigning champion, 0-5 in week 1, Sinas.
What happened there? I have no idea. I was casting spam for the week, and him and Pac seemed to be buddies over there in the lowest matches, sadly, but that's what happened. And yeah, very, very surprising. Not sure what happened there, but I'm sure that Pac is going to turn things around. He is an incredible player and has showed that off, especially last season, and he will do so again.
Absolutely, it's the quality and consistency is what is required at this very top level of Trackmania. And Pac definitely wasn't the only player who performed well last season to maybe find themselves slipping a little bit as we headed into this step one. 6 of last season's finalists found themselves in the bottom, or 6 of the finalists found themselves in the bottom 8. Sorry, there's a lot of numbers to throw around there. 6 finalists, bottom 8 that's a lot of people finding themselves a little bit flat-footed on the new maps.
Yeah, indeed, the standings have been turned around. I was very surprised by the results of the first week, where a lot of underdogs have overperformed, and now we are here and they're at the top.
It's true. Made it a little bit tough for them. And I don't know, I guess the question is, I'd want to ask you as well, do you think that comes down maybe to a change in format as well? The fact that it is single laps now, that does favor some players a little bit more?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think you're right. I think that is definitely the case, where some people just shine in their consistency, and now that consistency part of it is a little bit gone, right? It's much more about risking it and getting first. And some people are better at that than the consistency part of it. So I'm interested to see if this is a trend that will keep on going, where people that have performed not that well in the consistency part of it will now benefit from the new format. But because, we've only had 1 week. But I'm very, very interested to see that.
I'm excited to see it. And you've said it requires a little bit more risking. And more risking means more highlights. And we farmed plenty of highlights here in week 1. Here's just 10 of them.
This is it, boys. The end is here. Not the end. Hopefully the end of this. Yes! Oh, he did it! Oh!
Mime holt sich gerade Massa. Schauen wir mal. Also seht, alle anderen drehen ein. Otak landet, geht hier erst in den Eisslide. Und das ist schneller. Alter, ist das schneller. Oh, und ja!
Gerade auch mit dem Mouse-Lane. Wunderschön.
Aber Papu macht sich ab, oder?
Der rafft nichts. Oh, Massa, oh mein Gott, was war das?
Was Massa denn hier?
Ja! Was war das denn für eine Identity? Das ist ja cracked.
We call tout, ça passe. L'identité qui va foirer, mais pour tout le monde, je crois, pour tout le monde. Il a foiré l'identité, mais il s'est bien rattrapé. Jetzt braucht er eine gute Identity.
Gutes Ende, bitte.
Kappa macht sich in den Wald rein. Kappa macht sich in den Wald, oder? Nee, macht er nicht. Aber gerade ist gut.
Ja.
Das muss sein.
Ja, das ist es.
Let's go. Und damit sind wir im Silbermatch.
Yes, and he does try to advance up here on the field, but he is 0.1 behind. Nothing is over yet, though. He can get a perfect bug slide right here. Let's see if he gets it. Bren in first, Papu on second. Grenadi really getting close to the others, but it does look like Bren overtakes Papu in the very ending of the more.
Will Kappa lock it in, or will Spam get his sniper out of his closet? Let's see what that's happening here. Spam goes a lot closer, Kappa makes a mistake, and here we go. This is what I'm talking about. And we got sniped.
Et en vrai, il est très très bien. Et il va prendre ce point. Si, c'est bon, c'est bon, c'est bon. C'est bon. Regarde, c'est en plus 0-0-0, mais c'est lui. Ils sont.
Va falloir qu'il foire son grass slide, va falloir qu'il foire quelque chose, Papou. Et Bren est en train de gratter, Bren est en train de gratter. La transleader qui est bonne, Bren qui passe devant. Allez, le grass slide, tout va se jouer ici. Papou. Papou, lâche ça. Let's go. Let's go, Bren. Oui, champion. Oui, champion.
Beginnt hier eine neue Trackmania-Ära.
Der ist so Top-Favorit.
Vielleicht sogar Weltrekord jetzt auch.
Oh Gott.
Oh mein Gott, ist der noch wahnsinnig. Er ist so weit vorne, er springt sau weit außen.
Oh.
Nein.
Oh, schlechter Engel.
Yeah! Easy Snack!
Muchas gracias, afición. Este para vosotros.
All right, yeah, those were some great highlights. Always have to laugh a little bit at them. Especially last one, really, really good. But here we are back at it. And I want to talk a little bit about the standings after week number 1. Because we talked about some underdogs overperforming. Well, who are those underdogs? Bren and Massa are 2 that definitely wouldn't come up immediately as, they're winning a championship medal. But here they are at number 1 and number 2 on the standings. We also have Papu, Grenadi, Mime, and Carl Jr. That last one, not that surprising, in the top with some gold medals. So
You say Carl Jr. not as surprising. I think maybe a little bit surprising to see him only just getting the gold medal, especially given Carl Jr. did come in, managed to win the seeding event just straight up. A lot of people kind of thought, yeah, okay, this is it. Normal order is resumed. Carl Jr. is back on top, best Trackmania player in the world consistently. And then he comes into the main event, and yeah, like you say, Mime is the player sitting there right in front, the rookie beating out the long-standing veteran in that gold medal position. I mean, the top half of the table had some mix-ups.
It did indeed. Yeah, Mime definitely surprised. Carl, yeah, I just love that we're surprised that he's not first. That's just really good beat. But yeah, Massa and Bren really performing extremely well, and I just have to commend them for that. It's I think Massa sends us first on the standings right now, but really, I think Bren should be first in how he performed. Really shining performance this week.
Absolutely, and I think we'll get back to Masa later, and Bren in particular doing so well with the fans. I think a lot of people agreeing with you that I think he did very well. But, you know, we mentioned the bottom half of the table as well earlier, the fact that there are a lot of very familiar faces sitting down there. Players like Gwen, players like Scrappy, Spam, Kappa, Pack, all players who did incredibly well last season and seasons before. And to see the bottom of the table this stacked, I think you have to be nervous sitting up there. One championship medal is probably not going to be enough come the end of the season, and there are a lot of players who are going to come back fighting very hard in the next few weeks.
Yeah, you're completely right. And I think especially players like Gwen, Scrappy, Pack, they can do a championship medal, boom, like that. It's just, it wouldn't even be surprising. And right now they're at the bottom. So there's going to be a lot of shake-ups throughout the ranking, throughout the weeks, for sure.
I mean, that's part of the excitement of it. You know, we kind of said it as well before we went into that highlight video that this is a season I think we're both expecting to really produce some highlights. You know, Trackmania is a game capable of producing those highlights, and it's great to see the format supporting that again. You know, to see that really we are getting these rounds over and over that are incredibly close, that produce people who just want to pop off. You want to scream at your monitor when you see this.
Yeah, indeed. And with the identities like on grass slide or a tightrope, yeah, there's going to be a lot of highlights. And I quickly want to point out as well, I don't know, the people who've been watching the stream in the championship match, if you've seen Grenadi play on the map like grass slide, and you should definitely look at that next week as well. His wheel skills are off the charts, and the last turn is just, he just does it so perfectly. It's beautiful to see. I think it went under the radar here in the highlights, but for me, that was a highlight for sure.
I think it's kind of a little bit scary to be like, yeah, this identity is just, I mean, you have to play it with a wheel, you know. Maybe we'll see a few more players pick it up. We get to see grass slide back next week as well. Just get a wheel. Just become get to that level with a wheel. Hey, I mean, there's a few players who've dabbled in it before. Maybe not enough to actually just swap over to the next TMGL week though.
Well, maybe not, but hey, you never know. With players like these in the TMGL, you never know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, they're a little bit scary. And I mean, speaking of grass slide, obviously I'm looking forward to talking to Massa about that one later. Interviews will be coming up in just a little while. But for the meantime, we have to talk about just that entire finals because it was absolutely stacked. Massa coming out on top, and it is going to be the match that we take our round of the week from. Round one of the finals match was the round of the week this week.
First and 3 points wins. It's that simple. And just going into it, like this, the players, you really got no time to warm up. You have to be on your game right now.
Absolutely. Going into the first round here, we see all the players trying to go as tight as possible to get that inside line. Grenadi executing it the best here in the start. Papu right behind him going into this left-handed slide into the jump. Everybody seems to be doing it just fine. It's a very tight pack. Bren in the back though, trying to overtake, going into the no engine section. Everybody does it flawlessly. It seems like a few speed slides once again. Bren going pretty high up the wall, trying to get more exit speed to get his catch up on the other players here.
Exactly, and you can see it's actually working out. That exit speed pays dividends. He's only a 10th behind, and we have an incredibly close first round in the final. Papu leading the charge, 1/10 ahead of the others, but the bug slide will decide it. Who can get the best snap here? Masa with an incredible slide to take that first round. I think he went from last to first.
And I mean, what a round that was. And that finals map, it produced a few of them, seeing us across all of the matches in that final round. There were some highlights. That grass slide caught a couple of people out.
Oh, yeah.
But there's no time to talk about that. Look, we got to head on into our first interview of the evening because we have 3 interviews to go with. We're going to be talking to Bren first. And look, I hope we've been preparing the questions. I hope we're ready for it because, Bren, welcome. It's we've been looking forward to talking to you, and I hope you're ready to get asked the hard questions about Trackmania.
All right. Hey, Bren. Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Welcome to the show, and thanks for coming on. Well, immediately the first question, the obvious one. You win you're one of the 2 players that get the champion medal. How do you feel about it?
I'm feeling pretty happy, man. I mean, I wasn't expecting that at all, so I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, I feel like I succeeded my whole season so far. I mean, it feels like I achieved what I wanted to achieve during the whole season at least. So I'm glad I did that in the first week, of course. Yeah, I'm happy. Of course, I'm happy.
I mean, that's it. Season over, right? Don't need to try for the rest of it. But no, of course not. Right?
Maybe not to that point.
Yeah, look, I get that kind of leads nicely into the next question I want to ask you, which is, you got a lot of practice on these maps. They were used for the seeding as well. Did you kind of know roughly were you confident in your pace? We know a lot of players practice offline as well, but did you think coming in, it's like, yeah, okay, these are strong maps for me?
Well, honestly, I like the maps in themselves. Like, first, it's a good point to like the map because you'll spend so many hours on them trying just to practice and be good. So just liking the maps makes the whole process pretty easy, let's say. So yeah, I felt quite confident on the tracks. I also played much more than all the other seasons. Like, I played almost every day and maybe for like 2 or 3 hours every day. So that's maybe what helped me to be successful during the first step, at least. So yeah, I felt pretty confident, but I also knew that everyone could win any match. Like the whole players are pretty equally skilled, and I felt like it wasn't anything done until you win the match. Actually, like you could lose any round. So yeah, I feel like it's pretty stacked, and you can't really know if you're about to win rounds, win the matches. So you just try your best, and hopefully you can succeed in winning rounds. But you never know before. But I felt confident for sure.
All right, that's great to hear. And I would love for you to elaborate a little bit on the maps that you liked more. Is it really such a big difference over the seasons?
I think I like them more this season, especially the fact that it's only 1 lap makes it more fun to practice and more fun just to drive in rounds. But overall, I think I like all 5 of them. I had some struggles on Icy Jump, for example. Like, I hated the map at first, but after quite a while, I ended up liking the map. Same goes for Water Glider, which is probably my best map in the end. So yeah, I guess I like all of them, and I feel like I'll be liking the new maps as well. Like, I played them a bit so far, and I think I like them.
I was going to actually ask that question as well. With the change in format, the maps are getting released a lot earlier. You get to see the maps a lot earlier. Do you think is that an advantage for you? Is that an advantage for any players? Do you find yourself wanting to practice some of the future maps more often?
I'm not playing the maps before I need to. Like, for example, I'm not playing the maps now for the step in 2 weeks, let's say. So I don't feel like it's an advantage for me because I rather learn the maps quickly and try to be good on them in a few hours. And I feel like my strength is to be less prepared, and everyone is less prepared than just everyone being no-lived on the tracks, because I'm feeling like more of a fast learner than just someone who practices a lot. So I think it's something new that I'm learning about myself, like being good even though everyone is well trained, including me. So yeah, I think I'd rather learn maps, not for so long.
Yeah, interesting. But somehow you still get that championship medal, even though we've been able to practice for so long. Is it maybe the format that is very different from last season, of course, as well? That is the factor here that is helping you out?
Maybe. I honestly don't know. Like, when I entered the first match, I was a bit shaky and everything. Like, I really didn't know what to expect from the first step. So it could be anything. It could be the tracks, it could be my practice, it could be the format, it could be anything. I think it's just the whole mix, including some luck. Like, let's be honest, I could have been clapped on some matches by other players. Like, you never know. So I think the whole mix of being well trained, being in a good mental state as well, maybe, in being lucky, like everything combined made me winning the champion medal. Like, I can't really put anything behind that.
It's interesting, actually. You know, you've kind of mentioned the not wanting to over practice the maps, because it's something one of the community managers, Phoebe, mentioned earlier, is that at this level you definitely can over practice the maps. You know, you get to a point where maybe you're doing everything on autopilot, and is that kind of what you're looking to avoid? You don't want to kind of slip into bad habits on some maps.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even though I played way more than other seasons, I kept learning day after day. Like, there were new strats being found out, there were new rules as well being announced. Like, I kept progressing on the maps, and I feel like the more we learn about the maps, the more everyone is getting good at them, and the more, you know, like, it leaves less space to feeling and reflexes and however you can call them. So I rather play with reflexes than just being completely dependent to my training and just being like in autopilot, as you said. So I don't really know, but it feels like the more we practice, the more the maps are pushed as well, and the more I can be good on them. Like, it's a weird feeling, but that's how I feel.
That is interesting to hear. And I was wondering as well, of course, the seeding comes, and now step 1, everyone is, well, trying their best to win. So all the secret strats come out. Is there anything that surprised you? Some lines maybe that some people were taking that you didn't consider before?
Honestly, I learned nothing during the seeding. I think we hit pretty much everything. But then during the first step, you know, there's that quicksand line on the right side of the trees.
Yeah.
And like, I think no one did it during the seeding, but I was pretty sure like the maybe at least 14 players had the line. So I found it pretty funny that everyone was hiding strats that everyone had, basically. Like, the whole mind game between the players, even though everyone has the same lines in general. So it only comes up to small details, like, you know, tiny inputs that make the difference, especially on ice, I'd say. So that's what you want to keep and hide from the others. So I just didn't show anything during the seeding, and anyways, I kept learning after the seeding anyways, so I think I didn't learn anything during the matches, at least.
People still hiding strats on some of the maps for next week, the week afterwards.
Maybe, you know? Maybe. I would be surprised, but maybe.
Yeah, and since we're talking about training as well, I'd be interested to know, do you practice with kind of a team of other people? You know, you're trying to get lines off other, you know, players who are maybe not TMGL players, or is it all just solo? You just go in, you throw on your favorite songs, and it's just drive the tracks for a couple of hours?
Well, as I said, it's the first season that I decided to practice a lot, and I've decided to train with Otak. So he's the one I've been practicing the more with, because I just trust him and I think he's a talented player as well. So I play with Otak a lot. I also played with Carl Jr. Surely not as much, but I learned from him as well. I taught him a few things as well. Like, we're pretty much sharing things. But yeah, mainly Otak. And I think it made me better as well. Just the fact that I play with someone else. And it surely helps. Like, you can't really be prepared properly by playing alone. I think Papu plays alone, but and he's very, very good as well. But I mean, it's more difficult, at least, to be successful when you practice alone.
Yeah, that is a good point indeed. And I think you're right that Papu trains alone, which is also why he's a little bit infamous for having secret strats. And like you said already, people hiding strats is also something that will come back throughout the season, probably. Yeah.
There's also something quite funny about Papu during the seeding event, because you said about showing strats. Well, basically during the seeding event, I had Papu thinking that the first step was 1 week after the seeding event. So I played him, and he basically destroyed me. Like, he used everything he had, and it gave me like an idea of the level I had to aim for. Like, he had a sick consistency, sick pace, everything. So I was kind of aiming to reach his level during first step at least. So it kind of helped me as well.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. And I'm gonna ask you one more question. You are player of the week according to the fans, and also according to me. Is there anything you want to share with the people here?
Well, I appreciate everyone's support, of course, like always. Like, I can never be disappointed by the K-Corp viewers, of course. Like, it's always nice to have them behind me, even though I lose or win. Like, they don't really care, they just support me.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can keep being your player of the week and the viewers' players of the week. Hopefully. I'll try at least. I'll keep practicing and playing my best.
Absolutely. And Bren, I mean, look, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Is there any last one word that you want to throw to the fans as well before you ride off back to Waterslide on your surfboard?
Well, just a massive thank you to everyone, the viewers, from all the players, of course, and you for the interview as well. So just thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bren.
Thank you, guys.
See you next week.
Right back at the top, yeah. I mean, look,
Yeah.
Bren, incredible first week, and I think, given that, Water Glider, as he says, is his best map, is going to be back again next week seeing us. There's a chance we see another good week out of Bren.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's been playing incredibly. If you keep that trend going, it's not that surprising that he will do great again.
Yeah, absolutely impressive. Of course, we have more interviews lined up, another 2 for you. That was our first one, and what a fun interview we have had there. But we are going to be moving on to talk to Massa for our next interview, our other champion medal winner for week 1. And again, a very, very strong performance in week 1. Massa, welcome to the call, and congratulations on an absolutely fantastic performance in week 1.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. How are you guys doing?
Hey. Yeah, doing pretty
Very
good. Welcome to the show. And indeed, tell us a little bit about what went through your head when you got that Champions Medal in your back pocket.
Crazy, just crazy. Honestly, it was hard to realize because it went so quick. I mean, that sounds maybe a bit awkward now, but I mean, I gotta get used to such finals that it's over in potentially 5 minutes, So it was, I don't know, I was just like, oh my god. I mean, I wrote it on Twitter. I just wrote, oh my god. I couldn't really realize it until, it was actually over for some time.
It was an incredibly dominant victory, and I think you have to tell us a little bit. Is that the performance we can expect every time that you play Grassline for the next couple of weeks, or do you feel like that was, maybe a track that you got a little bit lucky on in the last round?
Necessarily say lucky, but I think it's more about feeling, especially in that identity. So I prepared only on the identity in that 10-minute break we had as finalists. I think the other guys were on the server playing the whole maps, but I only played the identity because I knew that it's gonna be all in the identity, and if I just play normal rounds like I'm used to in practice and show good identity, I have a good chance. And the others struggled a bit, and I hit those identities, so that made the difference, I think.
Yeah, and then what was interesting to me, at least when watching the championship match, was you got a couple of 0.1s, and immediately after you win the championship medal, we see best times going in of 0.90, I think we even saw a 0.8, right? So
yeah.
You think you've slipped a little bit through the cracks there, or what happened there?
Yeah, I would say pretty lucky that these guys didn't really hit that before. But I think it's also something about being in the zone, and maybe some, nerves are also playing a role since it's a final after all. So, I just try to focus on getting good identities and play it a bit more safe. Because I knew everyone is going to risk the identity. Everyone is going to go balls to the walls. And yeah, it ended up mostly people failing. And I guess I got a bit lucky, yes. But yeah, I guess I got.
But there's the classic phrase, that the more I train, the luckier I get, right? And I think that's more true in Trackmania than anywhere else. You don't get lucky doing the identity perfectly 3 times in a row. I mean, you were coming in last. I think in our round of the week, you were the last car going into the identity, came out first. I mean, it was an incredible drive.
Yeah, I mean, I can also do those times, It's not like I don't have that type of PB. I also knew Granadi's PB before because we also played a practice match. So I kind of knew what pace I need. And it was only this one player, and his name is Mime, and I think he's next in the interview line.
Yep.
That was really, really sick and consistent of 102s on that map in matches. So I was like, well, as long as I don't play him, all I have to do is 103, low times. And it paid off. And then the others stepped it up.
Yeah, indeed. And, the championship match, of course, is very interesting. But at some point, you did, not win a match. And you almost missed out on the championship division after losing on track number 3. Were you even still in the mind space of, I can go get that championship medal still after that loss?
Yes, for sure, because it was Water Glider, and Water Glider was one of my best maps in practice.
Oh yeah.
Surprisingly, despite it being a bit, of a different map. But yeah, I definitely had hopes in going back to the Champions match, especially seeing who I played on that map. I was happy that I don't have to play a Carl Jr. or Bren, who was insane on that day, or Mime, for example. So I would say I had a bit of an easier match than the Champions match, the Golden match. So yeah, I definitely had good hopes after losing Tightrope.
That's interesting. And specifically, I just want to kind of circle back to something you said earlier. The way that you were practicing for the last map when you had a little bit of time was just to repeat the identity over and over and over again. Is that something you think you'd see yourself maybe doing again? Because it obviously worked out this time. Was that a strategy that was just Grassline specific, or do you think it's useful on other maps as well?
I would say that was only Grassline specific, because I must say it was my worst map going to the tournament or into step 1. I was really scared of that identity because, as you can see, you can just get, not the best ending and you just lose 0.2, 0.3. So I would say that was very specific on Grassline, but there might be more maps coming up where the identity is really difficult or can be done really insane. So it's definitely a good thing to do maybe again.
All right, and you've mentioned Mime multiple times already. He's a rookie of the season. Are you scared of what he's going to do this season?
I mean, I got my Champions medal, so I'm not really scared. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited for him. Because I'm practicing with Mime from time to time. Not really super active, but we do share stuff. And I think he's a great addition, and he has shown what he's capable of. I was a bit worried first because of his head-to-head match not being the greatest. But what kind of level he showed in practice, how much time he's putting in, and the way he performed in step 1, I think he can actually win the whole thing. So
wow.
But then again, if you ask me, you can probably pick any player, and I would say yes, he can win as well. The level is just insane right now. So.
It is. It's. We talked about it earlier in the show as well. It turns out it's very hard to beat TMGL players. They're quite good at Trackmania. Who would have possibly thought that?
Yeah, I mean, look at Pack, right? Pack is our champion, and he got last. So if you have a bad day, you just get last in this kind of player field. So it happens, but he can easily just win this week again. So that's just how stacked it is, and I think. That should open the eyes for any viewer or any type of viewer.
Absolutely. And speaking of this next week coming up, we have 2 new maps coming in. Quicksand and Icy Jump will drop out of the map pack. Have you already started to look at the maps for next week? We've known them for a while, or are you kind of the same as Bren? You're focusing each week one at a time?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I do take a look at the maps when they come out, but only a couple of minutes, like a little discovery. I've already started practicing today and yesterday. And I must say they're not my favorite maps, but we still have a couple days left. But I overall think that the maps are a lot better than last season.
All right, and let's talk about a little bit of the rest of the season. You have the championship medal now, which makes you pretty safe because people without a championship medal will rank below you, and there are not that many medals to be given away. Does it give you like relief going into the rest of it, less pressure, or how are you mentally going into the next steps?
Haven't really thought about that yet, so this is gonna be more of a feel answer right now. That's a good question. I have to say, I think this is easier to answer that way. This type of format in general, is a lot less pressure to me, at least as a player, as all the other formats before. So yeah, I guess yes, there will be a little bit of less pressure, but I really have to say that this format is so enjoyable and to me chill to play, because if you lose one match, you just win the other one, right? And if you lose that as well, then you probably deserved it. And now that I already have this one medal, I mean, I'm just gonna continue on playing the way I played. So we'll see how it goes. Definitely a little bit of less pressure, but I'm gonna keep the training up,
I tell you, if I ever get a tattoo, that's what's going on it. If you lose, just win instead. It's just a good idea. I mean, look, all right, now, there's some big talk coming out here right now, Massa. We're going to have to pin you down, all right? 1 Champions medal already in the bag. Are you thinking 1 more, 2 more? How many more throughout the season?
My goal would be 1 more, I'm going to be honest with you. If I get 1 more, I'm really, really happy. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's a stacked field, but if I have to give you an honest answer, I think 1 more is possible. If the, map order is right, if I am in the groove, if I have a good day, I think I can get 1 more, but 2 more would be like, already quite cocky. I don't see that happening.
All right, so it sounds like you're getting 3 more, and sadly we're out of time now. But well, thank you for coming on and talking to us. It's been a pleasure, and good luck to the next season.
Thanks, Alexa. Thank you very much, guys.
So thank you very much to Massa for joining us there. And now the man who's been hyped up a few times already seen us. We've heard Massa talk about Mime. We've talked about Mime at the top of the show quite a lot. This is the rookie coming in, making big waves.
Yeah, he is indeed. Welcome, Mime, to the show. And we're happy to have you here on an interview because, well, people are talking about you and it makes sense. You're performing really well. How are you feeling?
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm feeling fine. I think it's a very good start to the season for me. I honestly didn't really expect to get gold. Like it was a new uncharted waters, let's say. First time TMGL, first step, the new format, Everything was like new for me. So I wasn't sure what to expect, but it went fine, so I'm happy for that.
I think a few people would probably say a little bit more than fine. 4-1 in your first week, a gold medal. I mean, Mime, it was incredible, I mean, coming in, just doing that straight from the challenger was amazing. You said you didn't really have expectations, but in the back of your head, were you kind of thinking like, okay, top 8, I'd be happy with that, top 12? Was there maybe one player that you just really wanted to beat?
My thought was like, if I get silver or above, I will be satisfied, basically. Gold was like the very good, very, very good. Champions was like unreachable for me because how the field stacked is, the players, of course. And like if I were to get silver or gold, I would be happy because it was a first week anyway. So I have 5 more chances to get a medal. But I'm glad it worked out well for me.
Yeah, very, very humble answer, if I may say so. But the performance of you says a little bit differently. Your seeding was very good. Now we're here in the 4-1. And you beat people like Papu, Massa in different matches. And I don't know, do you think that a champion medal is reachable for you?
That depends, because it all depends pretty much of who you play against on what map. Because if I have a bad map and I play versus like Carl Jr. or Massa, then I have literally no chances. But if I play on a map that I'm feeling quite comfortable, I can fight for a victory on that map. But it's very dependent. I can have a bad day, I can have a bad map. I can't predict that for sure.
It's interesting to me that you mentioned Carl Jr. because obviously everyone mentions Carl Jr. when they talk about the best players, but Trackmania really is a game where all the best players know each other. Does it feel different to be coming in playing against these players that you already know in TMGL versus just playing against them in other places?
I don't think so. Actually, that's a good question, to be honest. Like I always feel the pressure, let's say, like if you play versus those very good players, you have to perform. You have to show that you are good at the game, It's that feeling. If I see I'm playing versus a TMGL player, then I would like to perform good, obviously. Not just completely throw it.
All right, and I think you've been decently successful in doing so far. And what's your goal for the upcoming weeks? Are you aiming for top 8? Are you aiming for number 1? Or what is the mindset going into it?
For this season, I would be happy to just stay in league. Obviously, it's just a first season, of course. I wish, of course, the playoffs can be possible. Obviously, everyone can reach playoffs in this format. But to be more realistic, like getting couple gold medals, silvers, maybe lucked one champion medal can happen. But we will see in upcoming weeks, of course.
Look, we've talked to the other players about their practice routines and stuff, and I think particularly for you, Mime, it's a question that's worth asking. You know, has making it into TMGL over Challenger, have you changed up how you approach each week, or are you still kind of approaching the maps in the same way every time?
I think so. I mean, I do have a bit of a couple sector maps. I haven't done that really in Challenger League. Just to practice some specific part that I struggle with. But overall it's pretty much the same, just playing the map, trying to build up consistency and fast times, of course. That's about it.
Yeah, and can you enlighten us a little bit about how much you're training for the TMGL? Because Massa said in this interview that you're training a lot, but what does that mean exactly?
I actually don't know. Most of my training before the first step was pretty much on my stream, basically. I didn't really want to play offline that much. I feel like if I play offline, I just play short sessions, basically up to 1 hour, and then I do something else because I can't really play these maps for that long. It's just, I don't know, I had that in Challenger as well. I just play short sessions, but like quite frequently, let's say. So it's the same, basically.
It's the classic thing, you know, you scroll through Twitter for a while on your computer and then you turn off Twitter on your computer and just pull it out on your phone, you know. It's different sessions, right? But it's a lot of them.
True, yes.
I think as well, you know, I'd like to ask, you say you play a lot on stream, you know, we do know, again, it's come up a couple of times this evening, that some players do try to hide strats, they come up with them. Is that something then that you're not really thinking about? You're just like, okay, I'm going to practice, if I'm good enough, I'll beat the other guys anyway?
If I have a secret line or strat, I will obviously not show it. But yeah, if you have a map like Grassland, there's like nothing else to find. It's a very simple map. You can't really find any secret strat, so I don't see any reason not to show it on stream. Same with the other maps, but yeah, like the Quicksand, for example, the line at the start. People were not showing it, obviously, so I tried to stay away from it as well.
Yeah, but like Bren already said, seems like most of the players have figured that one out in the end.
Yeah,
and, we're doing it. But it was funny to see that people were hiding it in the seeding even, and then step 1 came around, and boop, there is the line.
Yep, I thought like at least more than half of the players knew about this line. It was actually like quite easy to see or spot. But yeah.
Yeah, and are there any secrets? Well, I mean, you're not going to reveal it, but maybe you can give us a hint. But are there any secret strats you have cooking up for the upcoming 2 new maps?
Well, let's say I wish I wouldn't have to use the secret things for the upcoming maps, but right now I don't think so. I don't really play the new maps yet that much. Only for a short amount of time compared to the first 5, but we'll see. There is always something that can be found. You never know what to expect from these maps.
Sounds like it has a couple of lines, right?
It wasn't a no, for sure, yeah.
It wasn't a no, yeah.
Is there either of the 2 new maps then that you're kind of particularly excited to? You know, would you say either of them kind of feel like they suit you a little bit more?
These 2 new, definitely not. I can already tell you that it's... I'm not vibing with them. It's just probably not the type of a map I would want to play. But it's obviously personal preference. But I'm looking forward to the later maps. They look really good, and I'm looking forward just to see them in the next steps, because they look much better compared to the 2 new that we have this week, at least for me. So I'm not really taking this step that super expecting some great results, but I'll try my best.
All right, and sadly now we're running out of time. Is there maybe anything you want to say to all the fans that are in chat spamming right now?
Well, of course, a big thank you to everyone who's supporting me. I love to see that. And yeah, I have nothing else to say, I think.
Thank you, Mime. I'm sure the community will have plenty more to say back to you over the next few weeks, because I think everyone has enjoyed watching you make your TMGL debut. Thank you very much again for joining us here.
Yeah, thank you. Goodbye.
And then saying goodbye to Mime, that is the end of our interviews for this week. Well, I think we got some pretty good interviews. We got some very interesting information. To be honest, Sinas, it sounds like really none of the players we talked to are looking forward to next week's maps all that much.
Yeah, although the general sentiment seemed to be higher than previous seasons in map quality. But yeah, here we are. Let's talk about the new maps coming up, because you introduced them so nicely. We have, well, 3 old maps, Tightrope, Water Glider, and Grasslight. But what about the new ones?
Ooh, the new ones are going to be Touchdown and Clock Tower. And Touchdown's going to be interesting, as we'll see when we get into the video for it, because Touchdown, I think, is one of those maps that has a little bit of a multi-stage identity, which in the new format, in the new maps, isn't something that we see an awful lot of the time.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, let's just roll the video right now while we're talking about the map, so everyone in chat can follow along as we're going through it. But yeah, it's definitely something different there on the new map.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for sure, and I think is going to eventually reward players who find consistent setups, because, you know, you can find a consistent setup for a lot of these different maps. You know, you can get very good. We saw Massa do incredibly well on Grassline, but at the same time, there was a map like Tightrope that will be coming back this week, and it again kind of had that multi-stage identity, and some players showed that if you were able to really get that rhythm down, you were able to wiggle slalom across the course well, you could actually get rewarded for it much more than maybe the identities on some other maps.
Yeah, indeed. Let's watch the map right now.
I think, look, like I said, those interesting jumps at the end there, the identity, the fact that you make the jump twice, if you can really nail those landings, you can consistently get a nice low jump, still getting the checkpoint, you could see some players really make some time up on that map.
Yeah, indeed, and I love to see this identity back again, because I feel like I've seen it before. It's sort of a deja vu moment for me. I remember TMGL players looking at it like, oh boy, do we have to jump through the, well, going under in and under out as well. And yeah, indeed we have to. So that's going to be some interesting... Maybe some people are going to miss the CP because they don't jump high enough, or they jump way too high and lose too much time. Good identity as for spectators at least. We'll have to see if the TMGL players like it though.
I think I foresee a few Yep checkpoints coming out in Twitch chat as well.
For sure.
I think there's going to be at least 1 or 2 bonks in that one. But hey, I mean, that's why an identity is an identity, right? It's not meant to be all that easy. And I think the next map, Clock Tower as well, not an easy one, but for kind of a different reason. It's definitely going to just be very, very precision based.
And here we are back again after Clock Tower. That is a scary jump to clear. And that's going to be a couple of rounds where people are ahead by a lot. And they're like, oh, I got it in the pocket. But then they actually go for a swim instead of go through the track. Can foresee some of those fields coming in.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately Twitch chat already have their spam locked and loaded for that one. You know, we said it was going to be checkpoints on the other, and I'm not even going to mention what it's going to be on this one. They're already well on top of that one, Sinas.
They are indeed, and it's a bit of an unfortunate name for that one. I guess the meme is quite obvious to make. Still, though, it's an interesting map to play. Mine was not that excited about it. Maybe some of the other players are, but then again, there is that opportunity when people are not that excited about the maps to really get your point across and train it a lot because the others are training it less. For example, Bren mentioned already that he trains more. Why? Well, he likes the maps, so that's easier to do. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we only talked to 3 of 16 players. It's possible that, hey, maybe the other 13 are all looking forward to this week's maps. I mean, also, maybe not. But, at the same time, it's not just these 16 players who will be playing on the maps. You know, we do have TMGL Challenger has started at the same time. And we have a week's worth of results to talk about already for that one, Sinas. And, I mean, it's been an exciting week down in Challenger League as well.
Yeah, let's talk about the top of the standings and the bottom. And we start from the bottom. What is Tween doing here at 16? This is insane. This player has been in so many World Cup finals, and now he was demoted to Challenger and is at 16. Not sure what's going on there, but I think Tween hopefully can turn it around. A lot of players are rooting for him. That's one thing I'm sure of.
Absolutely. And with Otak and Mime leaving, joining the TMGL, they both absolutely crushed the Challenger League last season. So there's a bit of room at the top. And I believe that's Ener and Solja. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Solja, Sinas.
Solja. It's all fine. He is at the top. And I'm very excited for these players. And like you said already, there's a gap now. I think Challenger is a lot closer together now, and just like in TMGL, it's harder to say who is going to be the player who is victorious in the end. But yeah, Solja and Ener are just looking promising, but they are not the only promising players here. So I'm very excited to see what the rest of the field will do throughout the next steps.
And of course, as you say, the rest of the field stacked as well. Plenty of familiar names in there. You know, we have players like Evan. We have players like Mika. These players who people will know from different fields, but there are definitely some players who I think we could see favoured on different styles of maps, on different identities as they come up. And that's an exciting reason to watch Challenger as well. I think Challenger is TMGL. You expect every player should be able to play everything. I think in Challenger you have some players who are maybe a little bit more specialised a lot of the time.
Yeah, indeed, and they might have some maps that favor them more, but Challenger is not the only players that can play. You can play as well in the Open League, and let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, Open League will be kicking off this week, a week behind the Challenger, a week behind TMGL, and of course the TM Grand League Open is open to absolutely anyone. As Sinas says, that includes you. You might as well play, because why not? You could be one of the 64 players that qualifies to a single elimination bracket at the end. And then, of course, the top 4 players from that will qualify into the final.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, might as well try. Nothing to lose, right? It's if anything, it's going to be fun. So I definitely recommend trying it at least. See how you stack up against the other players. And if you do it now, you can see how much you improved if you try it next time as well.
Absolutely. And of course, you've gotten great advice tonight already from some of the pro players. You know, if you lose, just win instead. Look, that holds at every level of Trackmania, including the Open. I mean, it just works.
It works for sure. I'll keep that in mind next time I play Trackmania.
Yeah, of course. And thank you very much for joining us here tonight through interviews, through a recap of Week 1 as we look forward to Week 2 as well. You'll want to make sure that you catch all of the action for Week 2. As mentioned already, the Open League will be kicking off this Saturday at 5 p.m. CET. It'll be followed by the Challenger League, kicking off again this Sunday at 5 p.m. CET. And then we get back into the meat of the action. Trackmania Grand League will return this Sunday.
Oh, this evening? Oh, boy.
It's happening again tonight, boys. No.
Yeah, indeed, Sunday it's happening again. Very, very excited to see it. Also, to see who is going to get the next championship medals. Can be anyone, as the players have already mentioned in the interview. This is the most stacked season we've ever had, and I say that every year, but it's more true every time. The 16 players are all on an insane level, and there's really no guessing on who's going to win next. So yeah, let's watch it.
Absolutely. So thanks again for joining us. We will see you all on Saturday, on Sunday, back again next week. It's been a pleasure. There's plenty more Trackmania to come this season. You won't want to miss a minute of it.